Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? I've heard you guys had a great night last night, so I'm here to make sure I energize you and I keep you awake with the first keynote in the morning. My name is Arantxa Mugica. I come from Spain. I work at Lilly company as a strategy and operations lead. And you might be asking, what is that? That's everything and nothing in a role. I know that. But the reason why I'm here today is because I had the pleasure to lead a very exciting project, a digital PSP, a one-of-a-kind for us at Lilly, that made us break a lot of molds. But I think I'm going to probably share the takeaways before and not at the end of this keynote, because I think one of the most important things that I've learned when we talk about customer experience is it takes a liquid mentality, right? It takes the ability to understand that it's almost delivering customer experience, especially for patients, when, that's probably not our forte, right? We're very used to, delivering it for HCPs. When we are a big pharma and we try to talk to patients, things get a little more complex, is that we have to understand that having a failing forward mindset is going to be key. Delivering CX is not a one-time thing. Delivering CX takes time. It's like growing a plant, nurturing a plant, right? Again, I'm here to talk about a story that it didn't start as we would have expected, a story about failing forward. So thanks for joining me in this journey. Little disclaimer, but this journey started around July 2022. Not really, started way before, but it just went off the road and public in July 2022. We at Lilly partnered with Sidekick Health. I don't know if you know Sidekick Health. It's a digital therapeutics startup that's based in Iceland. It was founded by two great Icelandic GPs that had an aha moment in their consultation, as many of us and as many HCPs had, which is, I don't have time to pay attention and to deliver really for what our patients need, right? Especially when people and patients are dealing with chronic conditions. They need to get a certain level of information, tools, and support that HCPs don't have time to deliver. And so they built a very compelling product, which is a gamified, digitalized support that uses gamification. Now, I learned that they also use a semi-human, that's what we learned yesterday, a little avatar that supports you along the way. It's mission-based, right? So you learn and it applies behavioral economics to change behaviors and support patients along their journey. So we at Lilly, we're also thinking about, okay, we've had traditional patient support programs. Has anybody been involved in patient support programs here? Well, congratulations for overcoming those and still being alive. We can talk about that later. But as you know, a delivering patient support program, people see the tip of the iceberg, right? What was behind in terms of data security, data privacy, pharmacovigilance, right? The story keeps going, and these are very complex and matrix projects, right? But the important thing is that at Lilly, we were thinking about, okay, with all this huge fourth revolution with technology, how that's changing behaviors and societal behaviors and communication behaviors, we cannot continue just delivering a traditional patient support where you receive a call from a nurse. But also, let's face it, who under 45 here loves receiving calls now? Nobody loves calls. We love texting. We love, interacting with solutions. We don't love so much somebody calling us. We're like, oh, what's happening here, right? So anyway, we knew we had to go digital, but the question is like, how do we do it? Another thing we learned very fast is, I know somebody here was like, take what you have internally before going externally, but I think partnerships are a great way to fill gaps, right? Capability gaps that you don't have internally. So we partnered with Sidekick Health to deliver digital patient support. And one of the initial questions that we had is the traditional classical patient support questions is, do we really support the patients on their treatment journey, why, with their medication? Or do we offer a rather holistic support, also looking into helping them with their sleep, stress, mental health, physical activity, right? And why do I say this? It's not, is it either or? You're probably thinking like, no, but the implications in go-to-market strategies, customer experience, content, it's purely different, right? So what I mean is when, for example, you are delivering a product-related patient support program, especially here in Europe where we looking into the jurisdictions and regulation, we cannot promote directly to patients, right? So again, we have to go through the HCPs for the go-to-market strategies. And as we already heard, HCPs don't have time. They already have enough, they take enough mindset to think what's the right medicine for the right patient, to be thinking, now let me open this drawer and let me see what is the right app for the right patient that's having this condition, right? So we knew that is a challenge. Nevertheless, we wanted to understand how that would operate in our environment from a go-to-market perspective, but also from a customer experience perspective. Is this something that HCPs value? If they don't, why, right? And on the other hand, if we delivered a purely lifestyle solution, I think we'd be missing really understanding what the patients that are taking our treatment and going through and how we can better help them, right? But again, when in doubt, A/B test. So we started with the project in Germany, as I said, in July 2022. And we implemented a very strong, let's say, listening exercise, right? I think that we've mentioned that many, many times. The most important thing, especially when we think of the liquid mindset, the failing forward mentality, is to have all mechanisms possible to listen to both the HCPs and the patients. We differentiated between listening directly to HCPs. We had, of course, one-to-one meetings with HCPs, advisory boards. We sent the field force, right, to listen to how they were reacting to this digital PSP. Definitely was corroborated that they don't like branded apps. They don't have time for this. We know that. That's okay. We'll act on that. But then it's as important to, feed that data into the discussions, right? Like we had real-time data from how consumers or how patients, were interacting with the app. The reason why I say this is because sometimes we see a huge disconnect between what a patient will tell you, right, when you're having a focus group with them, versus how they're acting within the app, right? So matching those two, let's say, like voluntary and involuntary sources of data, it was really crucial. And then having an internal governance body to analyze this and act quickly on potential insights and changes, because I think one of the critical things for this project to, evolve and improve was that we built a cross-functional team that, of course, was rewarding and recognized for the value that we're bringing to the patients. At the end of the day, we have, a task here and an objective, which is to improve the outcomes of patients that are in our PSP. But as well, I think the team had very clear that part of their role was being recognized or rewarded for acting fast to improve customer experience, acting fast on key insights, turn those around super fast to keep improving, right? Understanding this is a long-term race, that is not just a one-off, right? Sometimes we just deliver something, we just let it sit, and we take a lot of time, right? So that was a key thing. So we had this feedback loop running for a while, but of course we realized, for example, that in the lifestyle app, we had a lot of patients, right? Because we could deploy go-to-market, direct-to-patient tactics, etc. But we also realized that the quality of the leads and the users, when they came through their doctors, right? They had a clear objective why they're using that PSP. Their engagement in the app was way higher, right? So how can you manage getting as many patients as possible, but ensuring they're as engaged as possible, right? So we were sitting one day in that governance body, and here I have to mention my colleague Julien, who also was a speaker in Dubrovnik, and it's a good friend of Next. We were sitting and we had an aha moment. Is how can we really take the best of both worlds? And this comes to something that was mentioned in the panel before, which is, can we really look at what the customer needs and not what we need to deliver? Again, I know this is something we knew from the start, but sometimes you just need to face cruel reality to take action on it, right? So what we did is we turned the solution upside down, as we say. We are used to segmenting people and then executing against, those segments. What we did here is, let's look into the ecosystem, so all breast cancer patients, no segments, right? These are all the patients we want to help. So let's try to get all these patients into our solution, and then let's segment those once they are in the solution, right? It's almost like fish netting. Why are you putting yourself barriers before they get into the solution? Why don't we find a way to involve or bring everybody in and then understand how to provide the best for each kind of patient once they're in the app, right? So I know that might be quite simple, but it took us probably like 9 months to realize. But it was definitely, that's why I say, we didn't get at the beginning the results we expected, but we were able to identify very quickly what was gonna make us get there, right? And again, this was a huge product structure and hence go-to-market strategy change. But again, I think we had that aha moment thanks to having a proper, let's say, listening structure, as we call it, or like, insights incubator to ensure we not only capture as many as possible, make sure we link them, we connect the dots, and we action them as fast as possible, which we know that sometimes in big pharma, executing fast is not our forte, right? And again, this a very simple emoji illustration that shows, and this could be applied to both patients and HCPs. We've heard this many times, right? HCPs are super busy. How can we make life easier for them? I think, if not only the Lilly rep, but, different reps or different MSLs from different companies every other day come to the oncologist in our case and are like, hey, this is a great PSP for my patients. This is a great PSP. They're going to be extremely overwhelmed, even more than they are today, and that can even be counterproductive in the midterm, right? And then as easy as, okay, let's just give you one. It's we have a lot of what we call sources of authority for HCPs, where we, provide a seamless, unified customer experience through a single platform, and I had discussions with several colleagues about this yesterday. Why not applying that to PSPs, right? And again, I think that requires a big mindset shift. I think even when we came with that, when we had that aha realization, both internally at Lilly, but also externally with our partner, they were like, what? So you want to build an app that's for all patients? Like regardless of the treatment they're taking, but so how's that good for you, right? And we're like, well, in this, in this area, we believe collaboration is a new competition, right? I think we're trying to support patients and really having that mindset where, switching things around, working within the ecosystem, and then supporting patients the way they want to be supported is where we need to go, right? And again, I'm not going to give you a class about Agile. A lot of you probably know way more than me about Agile. And I think especially in the tech side of the business, we're very good at applying Agile, not so much in the commercial and medical front, to be honest. As we say, because of the nature of our business, we're so used to, delivering excellent solutions, right? I think it takes a bit of thick skin to see, like, I'm going to deliver an MVP and then see how I evolve it, right? I think that's a big change. In our case, we have specific working groups that are able to do that, right? But that's not something that happens across the organization. But again, I think the only point to highlight on this is the quick and constant adaptation is what's taken us from, a potential project that could have been a failure to a success story based on continuously, almost like in a weekly basis, doing small CX improvements that is really paying off, right? And again, as I said, like it's not the end of the story, but definitely I think we're in a better position now. We are definitely reaching more patients, right? We can use both go-to-market strategies, one that's really focused on discussing with the HCP, but also enable other more consumer goods related, patient-directed promotional tactics like social media. For example, working with patient advocates and influencers works extremely well. But then again, leveraging the doctors, their expertise, their notoriety to ensure that patients not only come to the app, but stay in the app and really take advantage of the program, that's also super positive, right? So I think we're now today both, delivering the solution for patients in Germany and Spain. And I just this morning, even before coming here, I was checking how things are going, and it's really working well, right? So just to, again, two points to moral of the story, I guess, is one, customer experience, of course, is about continuously listening to the the patients in this case and the HCPs. Let's see, with the ecosystem, you don't only need to think about your end user, but you need to think about who's influencing that end user, right? Because that's probably where you can find your barriers. But it's really about constant iterations, constant changes, right? And then it takes time, right? I think sometimes because of our yearly business plannings and budget allocations and internal pressures, we want to deliver things fast. Innovation, customer experience takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it's extremely rewarding. So that's it. Thanks so much. Open to any questions you may have.
Did you involve customers and patients in co-creation?
Yes. Yes, we did. That's extremely important. We involved both HCPs and patients in the product development. Yes, we did. And that's been key, right? Because I think one of the main things that's actually helping us increase, the acquisition rates is this has been developed by and for patients, and the content, right? The educational program that the patients are receiving is with co-created by HCPs. Yes, absolutely. And that's a critical point. I didn't mention that, but that's extremely, extremely important, right? To co-create this from the start. Just find those, again, I must be honest as well, sometimes these kind of digital apps, they're difficult, right, to promote to HCPs. There's, 60% of our HCP base still very traditionalist, right? So how do you identify the 20% that's really like early adopter ones that are willing also to participate in this kind of projects? Hold on to those and like bring them along the journey, right? Like we also tested the ecosystem concept with them. So there's been a constant involvement with an HCP advisory board that's been involved in the creation of the program, yes. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, and thanks for the presentation here. Nico from Roche. I'm working as a patient partnership manager, so that resonates very well. And I'd have one question. You mentioned that even your external partner asked what's in it for Lilly in this case, and actually we're also having these challenges. So my question would be, when it comes to launching the app, did you also involve your field force, so to say, and how did you manage the trade-off between, talking about a product is an immediate reward when it comes to numbers. This is more of a long-term game. How did you coordinate this? What's your arguments, and how did you manage?
Thank you, Nico. That's super, super good question. And honestly, especially in both, right? Both stages of the project involving the field force is key. Because again, as we said, I think one of the main drivers of the patient engagement is HCP recommendation, right? I think, it's really important to work with the local brand and sales teams to make sure that you include it in their brand strategy and operational plan. I think a key success factor is to ensure they're not just, our Lilly reps promote the Lilly medicines, right? And then they promote solutions that are going to help HCPs with delivering the best care for the patients. We cannot fall in the trap of having reps to promote an app. That's not our business, right? So the most important thing is to work with the teams to ensure that we have a integrated operational plan where you can, bring this as a solution within the customer value dialogue. Like, so how am I as a rep adding value to my customer? And how is this solution helping me with that, right? So that's crucially important to have the local buy-in and work to ensure that you promote this in an integrated way and not just say, oh, by the way, I have an app. They're going to be, I don't care, right? So we can talk about that a bit more later. Absolutely.
I have a question that is going in a similar direction. Yeah. So the solution is independent of your drug, but it's a long-term investment that there has no direct impact on your revenues. So how do you scale that one, and how do you get the budget allocated to scaling that across different markets?
Very good one. It's interesting because it is somewhat related. What the ecosystem means is that once the patients get into the app, you ask them several questions. Also, what treatment they're taking. If they select a specific treatment based on specific verification, in some countries might be by scanning, the barcode on the box. In some others might be by filling a consent. they could potentially link back to the traditional PSP, for example, or to brand-related or product-related resources. So there is a link to the only things like we've turned it upside down, right? Which is not the usual, way to go by it. But again, I agree with you regardless. When we think about, these kind of innovations, there's a huge scrutiny from our leadership on what's the revenue of this. And I won't lie, I mean, we're constantly trying to make sure we have the most compelling case to defend this. Some strategies that have worked for us is having global incubators for innovation-related projects. So it's, this 70-20-10, like, can you still direct 10% of your budget to trying new things? Understanding that the revenue is not only the impact, as I said, of the solution, but also the learnings that I'm going to bring to the company to continue developing better solutions, right? So I think, again, it requires a little switch of mindset and generally, having some vertical funds which, they look into the impact, but also the output, right? I think many times let's focus on the impact. Are we improving adherence, engagement? But, as I said, one of the key things for this team was we were also valued on, are we bringing the right learnings to the organization to continue growing on the digital innovation front, right? So probably that's why you probably add a bit more value, economic value to the insights gathering or to the learnings and, building on, continuing the journey, as well as, of course, the most importantly, it's like delivering the best experience to our patients. So that's a bit how we went. Yeah. All right. Thanks you.